Good afternoon. I'm Linda Miller and would like to call to order this meeting of the Land Use Working Group Public Works Subcommittee. It's Wednesday, December 17th, 2025 at 3 p.m. And I will take attendance. Rob Almeida.
Here.
And Linda Miller here. And I'm sure there will be others joining us shortly. So we'll proceed with the meeting. Matt, I see you are here now as well. And I just want to also acknowledge members of the public. And also I see Russ Carlstad, who's the town's facility manager, and Sven Weber, who is one of the co-chairs of the Land Use Working Group, as well as on the member of the Public Works Committee. And I see Carlin Reed is here, and she's on the Finance Committee, and we always welcome her input in terms of finance issues. So first, I will see if there is any public comment. Seeing none, I think we could go and have perhaps a discussion of the site tour that we were all able to attend a few days ago over at the Public Works water treatment plant on Bedford Street. I keep getting Bedford Street and Bedford Road confused. So Matt, you were there. Any thoughts in terms of suitability with regard to our project on Public Works for that location? Any impressions you might have?
I thought it was great to see things in person. I was, on a side note, just delighted to know that if sewer capacity was needed, that they would be able to provide that there, and really appreciate Sven being there, who kind of takes a global look on this stuff. But it was a great tour. There is space there. And I do want to applaud all the town staff who are really able to adapt to anything that we provide. But they every place that we said, they say that it can be worked out. How it's worked out is they can do it once we make that determination. But I thought it was a great visit, and look forward to going back and seeing the interior of it as well.
Yes. I guess my impressions were very similar to yours in terms of really competent group of people, and very proud of the facility that they have there and its productivity and ability to potentially serve the town both now and in the future. I was impressed with the extent of the exterior space that was available. One thing that I found interesting just was as we were leaving, a very large truck was winding its way up to the facility, and I had not quite, I don't know what it was there for, but I hadn't quite, even as we're looking at large equipment that needs to move around in these spaces, I hadn't quite appreciated that a truck that large would be something we might necessarily be thinking about in terms of the footprint that's necessary. So yeah, just being on the site, you'd sort of pick up nuances that are hard to see on paper. And I know Sven and Russ were there. Any things that you would like to comment on?
Could I just jump in real quickly, because I want to follow up with that, and I didn't want to. I will absorb their comments more than my own. But Alan and Russ also did, showcase that, neighborhoods, that was more of a neighborhood, and there was a comment that highways. I know where the recycling is for the leaves. That's beneficial because people can come from a number of areas off the highway opposed to going through a neighborhood. Now that neighborhood does tend to have few more houses, but maybe the roads and the activity on those roads may be different, because that is going towards neighborhoods opposed to a more easily accessible region. But fairly obvious comment. Sorry.
Mhm, mhm. And also Nick was there, so I don't know. Can you guys? I'm not sure if you can
We
unmute yourselves, or if I have that capacity.
Linda, I'll jump in for a minute since
Oh,
you're
thank
having
you.
little difficulties there. So I've been building these type of facilities for years, and the one thing I took away from going to this facility, I've seen some in very, very terrible shape, but this is probably one of the best facilities I've ever seen in terms of how well it's maintained and just the pride that the team takes in caring for the facility, because these facilities, if they're not maintained properly, they can degrade very quickly. So, I mean, the town should be, content with, and the everyone in town should be content with how well they do maintain that facility.
Great. That's a great point, and particularly with your perspective of being a professional in the field. So thanks. Yeah, and I think it also points to the issues with the 133, 135 building, where there's you know clearly a difference. There's clearly a great deal of work that's gone in to maintain those facilities, but um, because of limitations that we've all seen from having toured those facilities, it's not the same situation. I think you can compare and contrast, um, you know, uh, good management best practices on both locations, but one location is just not serving the needs of the community to the same extent because of the inherent limitations of that facility, as opposed to of the care and hard work of the staff that are putting into it. So yeah. So I think we probably would still keep the Bedford Street on our list as possibilities. And I think now we can move on. I think we have the next agenda item is approval of meeting minutes. And I think there were just approval of the minutes of that meeting, which all said that essentially just said we were there and we did a site review. So are there any questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I apologize. Yeah, were those written down? I'm not sure I saw those. And
Yeah, I think it came. I think came in Sharon's little
okay.
packet.
All right, great. Thanks.
But essentially, it just said that we had a meeting at the site and did a site review. So could I
Linda,
have?
I'll put forward a motion to approve the minutes as written for the site visit.
Okay, and a second? Okay, you have to say second, Matt, that I can hear. No, you.
Second.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, all approve. Let's see, Matt Boger,
Yes,
Rob Almeida,
Yes.
and myself, Linda Miller, yes. Okay. So now I wanted to take a look at, again, if I can figure out how to get our screen shot here. To look at site criteria. And
Linda, if you need, myself or Matt to share something for you, we can do that. If you can press the share button at the bottom in green, does that?
Oh, share. Thank you. Here we go. Share. Let's see. Does that? Can people see it? Okay. So I've been I played around a little bit more with the criteria we'd been talking about, and I thought that we could go through each of the criteria. I think to some extent, the subcommittees have approached their criteria a little bit differently. Ours have been sort of a criteria, sort of qualitative with regard to the site, and others have had criteria that are more oriented toward functionality. So here I have a criteria of acreage and configuration, whereas other teams might have something that would be efficiency. Whatever. So I just wanted to go through, walk through criteria, kind of decide how we would like to do weighting, if it would be quantitative, assigning numerical numbers 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever, or just plus signs or minus signs for various locations, just sort of how we're thinking of we'd want to weight these various aspects. So I think why don't we just jump right in? I have no pride of authorship here, so you want to change the wording, want to change, delete things, add things. Let's just hopefully get this done. And so going through them, the first thing that hits my mind is that sort of 13 to 14 acre site that really is the capacity that's required for a public works, a sufficient size for public works at this point. That's the best we have to go by. And here, just to talk, the sort of description of that is so that we can accommodate vehicles, vehicle repairs, material storage, and employee parking. That's, and I guess I should also put administration in here. And then provide rapid accessibility, safety in operations, and efficient circulation. So any thinking, Matt or Rob or anyone else, please raise your raised hand function if you have anything you want to discuss here. And then I guess the question would be, should we talk about the weight for the criteria, or should we go through all of them first and then talk about weight? Okay. So then next would be costs, and that would be costs of acquisition of land or properties, site prep, utilities, renovation or new construction. Cost is key. And then also opportunity costs, if we should, if a site has very, say, lower opportunity costs, say, for example, 2229 Main Street might be in that category, but higher opportunity costs might be something like keeping things at 133, 135 Kais Road, which is right in the center of town. And then operating or maintenance costs. I mean, clearly, if you have a new build, presumably your operating and maintenance costs would be lower than if you were doing a patchy restoration of 135 Kais Road, which is still got an awful lot of wetlands right underneath the building. Then looking at location, really that's the response time, proximity to high need areas, and access to major roadways would all be, as Matt, you mentioned earlier, we need to think about this, surrounding, how do we get there and who do we annoy on the way getting there? Um, so for me, those are really the three key issues. Utilities, I think that came up mostly when we were at 2229 Main Street, thinking yes, they do have utilities, but are any of these locations we're thinking about stranded to the point where utilities would be complex? That could also be under costs. So I can go back and forth on that. The next item is physical condition. That is, if we're renovating or looking, say, for example, at the buildings at MCI Concord, what are the age of those structures? Has there been deferred maintenance? Do they meet all current and potentially future safety, accessibility requirements, etc.? And then the issue we really haven't talked about is phasing. I mean, I think we talked about that early on when, Rob had some concerns about, would buildings on properties be available, but really phasing, say, for example, the Ripley building, like if that was of interest, well, when would Ripley be able to move somewhere else if they were going to? And how long would it take to, you know, change whatever zoning Ripley is for example? I don't even know right now. To I guess it would just go from municipal use to municipal use, so it's probably not an issue, but something that to be discussed. Sustainability, really, that to some extent also goes with risks, and risks primarily external risks, in terms of the neighborhood, and then are there legal barriers, hazardous materials, unknowns that we need to think about. So, anyone have thoughts, comments, criticisms, improvements we want to make on the existing criteria?
I think this is a good point, way to go, because if we, you know, first thing we need to whittle this down, the sites down a bit, so we can't just, go into the weeds with every location. We need to, get to, I would say, my opinion, 3 to 4 locations, that are viable, and then go from there. And then we can kind of look at some of the sticking points that may be a concern for the select board coming up. That's just my opinion on it.
Linda, I think it's really well crafted, and I like this, the numerical thing, so we can kind of balance things out. And as Rob said, whittle it down to 3 or 4. Again, we're the recommenders, not the decision makers. Again, I came in a little late, so I'm a little confused by. So there is economic factors on this. Is there any money allocated for this? Because that could make a determination if you have to build a new building, or if you have to, it would be more expensive, my assumption, and maybe I'm wrong about this. Russ would probably know, and or retrofitting an existing building that was built, in the 1970s, and it's got strong bones, but you'd have to redo an infrastructure. So, I mean, we can make recommendations, but it's like, well, if you don't have, this is going to be a large amount of money, millions of dollars, is my assumption. So, was there guidance of like, we have this amount, or there's like, don't worry about money, that'll become later? So I'm not sure this is an appropriate time to talk about that, or just my naivete about it. So sorry.
Matt, this is the time. So this is a great question, and I'm gonna say I'm hoping Sven has the answer for us.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm now I can speak again. And that was my bank fraud issue. So sorry for that in the beginning. No, so what costs and investments, either building new or renovating, is a key factor. So that's the one thing. If that needs to have an own line item here under costs, or if you mingle this into one of these, there is no defined cost budget for none of any of the land use work group work. It's one of the output slash input criterias that hopefully define in the end the priority of the different options, the timing of options, and when and how these things can be slotted into a long-term capital plan of the town. At the moment, there is no money to play around with.
So for example, if we were gonna wait, just put dollar signs, like uh, say we're gonna locate at 2229 Main Street. Well, there's nothing there right now. Maybe that's the good news, but the bad news is it's a complete new build. And so you're looking at maybe 40 to 60 million dollars for a building. On the other hand, if you look at 133 to 135 and Kais Road and renovating there, you probably would have to expand the footprint to maybe 141 Kais Road and maybe even expand it to a private property that's abutting. So you might have to actually acquire some land. So I don't know, with a renovation where you have to expand, how, is that probably not going to cost $40 million, but so it still might be less than a complete new build. But I would love, to have input because I that's my guess, but it's just like not.
Sven, sorry, not to jump you there, Linda.
Yeah.
Do you think we should just throw dollar amounts at this, like ballpark? I know they're going to be, kind of a guess, but should we throw
Yeah,
a
I think
dollar
you
amount?
should
Even
you should work
sorry,
with ranges and disclose. These are first initial assumptions.
correct.
Um, uh, I I gave the guidance to all other groups that think about orders of magnitudes. Yeah, in what
Yeah,
order of magnitude and what range a certain option sits. And the nice thing here is you have in there, let's say, also the opportunity cost scenario on some of that. Let's say what could be achieved on land value if you sell, let's say, Kais Road. That is already, say, more narrowed down data available. So some stuff is available, but other things, it's how expensive a new building would be on 2229 Main. And to develop that is a guesstimate at the moment, I would say. And
I
I
mean,
gave the guidance also generally back to at least two of the select board members, including the current chair, that the select board needs to be prepared to put some really serious work behind it after we get our high level kind of options and let's say general recommendation out there, because each working stream alone will need a lot of additional information, specification, and map this out in much more detail. And a 1 year charter of the land use working group, of which our work is split half somewhere in the middle of this, because we have to figure out the other half too, is just not enough time to get really, really granular here on the cost side and the opportunity revenue side potentially. Yeah.
I mean, should we just try to do one and see how, kind of walk through MCI? And I mean, I would take the first three and we could kind of start walking through those because we do know some of the items that are there, where there's no land, there's some at land acquisition, there isn't, and kind of throw you know, I guess at these costs to start.
I think we start if we come to the end and we decide that it's not fruitful. We'll have given it our best, and maybe we'll have discovered things along the way. Yeah. So in terms of the acreage, is you wanted to start there, or did you want to start on costs?
I mean, let's do acreage first and then we can then move to cost, right? Because then I think, if we know if a space is not going to be adequate, it's going to probably, the costs are probably going to be high too, with that, because we're looking at more split facilities at that point. So there's going to be more of a cost.
Okay. So if we look at MCI Concord, so on this I have acreage. MCI Concord. Well, there's a lot of land there. The adjusted number is taking out essentially the wetlands. So there's about 45 acres without wetlands, but that's a hard one because there's plenty of land. There's plenty of there are 3 buildings plus a buffer zone potentially around the existing wastewater treatment facility where you could locate public works, and I don't know, I don't see Russ here. Russ has done a lot of work on MCI Concord and might want to.
I mean, having conversations with Alan and Russ and through these meetings, I would have to say it's a very safe yes that there is sufficient space to accommodate what their top goal will be in terms of facilities.
Mm-hmm. And also.
And Russ has his hand raised right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
sure.
the MCI site would satisfy our needs programmatically on square footage and acreage. And, we've been looking at this more and more. And what we're using currently for acreage at Kai's Road is actually 5 acres, just a little bit shy of 5 acres. What we would be looking at to use at the MCI Concord site would be 7.8 acres. There's 3 buildings we're looking at: the vehicle building, the industry building, and building F, which is that 2-story storage building. So we're currently evaluating that. That's in process. But programmatically, it looks like it's a good fit space-wise right now.
Okay. Is that okay? So then with the 5 acres in use currently at Kai's Road, what if 141 Kai's Road was available? Would that, in addition to the existing space and the configuration, be suitable for a renovation?
141 was not in my 5-acre number. I have that cut out because it's not at Concord Public Works. That building is suitable. That building is suitable for renovation for multiple uses, whatever type, residential, business. And then Kais Road property could be renovated for commercial or residential use. And with the Concord Oil in play, that just adds value to the picture for us down the road.
Yeah, but the question here on hand right now is not if you're renovating it in this scenario. The question is, it's not if you're using it for residential. Is the 5 acres reconfigurable, renovatable to use for public works with all the trucks and everything? So I think the biggest problem is where to put all the trucks right now and have still room to move around on the Kais Road.
Yeah, once we start reconfiguring and we reach 30% of value of the existing buildings, and we have to bring everything up to code, current code, that will obfuscate the ability for us to operate there efficiently. For example, the salt barn needs to be at least doubled in size for our use. And as we start taking up space for code compliant issues, we start losing space for things like a salt barn. It would have to be located someplace else, which would add to inefficiencies in operations. So any money spent at Kais Road would not improve our situation, it would actually make it worse.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused. So if we're using 5 acres now and 7.8 acres at MCI Concord is suitable, if you could add 3 acres at Kais Road, what you're saying is if you did that, you'd have to do essentially a new build or a very expensive renovation, and it wouldn't be worth it.
Let me, if you, in the state of Massachusetts, if you do a construction project, it's 30% of the appraised value of the building. Everything has to be brought up to current code, accessibility, fire protections, heating, ventilating, cooling, stretch code, all of that, parking, egress. Currently, we're using 4.93 acres. We don't have 3 acres to add to the 4.93 because it's wetland areas. So we're constrained to the 4.93. If we start needing to accommodate all the egress and all the other issues we have since we've grown, we're going to space ourselves out of Kais Road. So the additional 3 acres over in MCI allow us to have that room to grow in that space that we need to move around the site. The buildings that exist there will also have to undergo full code compliance, but the square footage of those buildings will allow that to happen within the existing footprint.
I mean, the other thing to consider, just to put it out there, it's just the time. If we were to renovate Kais Road, it's not only the cost to renovate it, but also setting up temporary facilities throughout town. Wouldn't that be a cost for us?
Yeah, there's a holding cost when you're doing a renovation. So if you're going to do a renovation or a new build, you're going to have to add 20-30% anyways to cover your holding costs, your temporary facilities, wherever you are. So there's an added cost for the staging, as you brought up, Matt. It's a pretty large number.
Okay, so we're saying see if I could get let's not do that. No, I was going to try and be too clever. Let's not do that. So,
If it would help to show a graphic, I can share my screen real quick.
sure.
Let me find out.
I think I probably have to stop sharing mine.
Okay. Let me get to the right one. There we go. Whole screen just went away. There you are. Share. This guy, share. So let it come in? Not yet.
No, I can see your screen.
Oh, so you guys see the the plan?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so the pink is the 4.93 that we're currently sitting on. And it's overlaid onto the blue, which we want to take and use for Concord Public Works. Just for orientation, this little notch here is wetlands where we currently are. So that's how constrained we are. The wetlands come right in. I remember, Matt, you saw when we walked around where the wash bays were and stuff right there.
Yeah.
So this is a vehicle building. This is a 2.5-story building for large vehicles. So that's where all the service would happen, large vehicle storage would take place. This would be indoor storage for vehicles. This is the industry building. That will be all of our shop space and things we don't currently have under OSHA and other code requirements. This was the industry building before, so it's already got the power and everything we need. The same with this building. Excuse me. This is the wall, which represents an issue. Some conversations have been to keep a piece of this wall to isolate the use from nearby traffic. This is the 2-story building that would be the offices and long-term seasonal storage. This building is the powerhouse right now that would likely be demolished. So all of this would be parking and access to the site in this area. And then down south, we have the wastewater treatment plant, which we assume is going to be some area. That's just to indicate it's there.
And
So Russ, how would you access that? From the highway or from a different venue?
It would come off Route 2. It would
Okay.
come off Route 2 as it currently does.
Okay.
And we're going to need to have heavy traffic accessibility to the wastewater treatment plant. So it makes sense if there's going to be heavy truck traffic going to the wastewater treatment plant to run it through the Concord Public Works site that we have currently, which we would have here.
So
Would you
Russ,
need to put a light there? I'm sorry, Rob. Apologize.
no,
Would you have
go.
to-
You go
I'm
1st.
sorry about that. So I can just see that accessing from the rotary, and you couldn't access that. I would just think that's a funny turn, right?
Well, this is a left and right turn right now out of here.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, this would have to get updated. It'd probably more, if this was the entrance, there would be a light there clearly. But
Okay.
MassDOT is dealing with this, and that would all be part of that.
Right.
At some point, there may be a southerly connection out here through whatever happens down here. There's a road down here somewhere. But that would not be our preferred method to get in and out. That would just be an emergency egress.
Okay, great. Sorry, Rob.
Nope, and that was Russ answered my question there. I mean, we have to, have two means of, if this was to be used as the site, given its profile, we'd have to have like a separate haul road or access road for DPW, say if there was some kind of accident on Route 2 or whatever it is. So you answered my question.
Yeah, that would all be configured into the master plan and, whatever's going on over there. These are just conceptualizations at this point. We feel confident that we could fit there and be efficient there.
So Russ, this is the total area you would be looking at is the blue, which is the 7.84 acres.
Correct. This
So-
area okay, go ahead.
No, but now I'm confused because I've been looking for 13.7 acres, which is very different than 7.84 acres.
Right, and as we're looking at the operations more and more, inside, we can be more efficient in the space the way it's laid out with the existing building structure. The 14 came from the original studies. It was never really hashed out. The 2020 study, we're being
Yes.
more, yeah, we're being more fine tooth comb on what we actually need. We don't want to take more than we need. So we know that we can fit into this space comfortably now and for 50 years.
Okay.
Yeah, as we've been looking at this for, a couple months now, and we don't want to take away from the town's prospects of housing or other commercial development and stuff. We just want to make sure we have an efficient way to service the town's needs from the DPW side, CPW side. And this would do it for us right now. It's a pretty striking graphic when you look at the pink to the blue of how much space we're operating out of now. And we have a more regularized site. It makes it easier for us. Things fit better.
So the previous plan or previous idea, which was to be in the buffer zone around the treatment plant. So what is happening there? I'm just curious.
Right.
Because
So
you're not-
my cursor is coming in on the road, correct? Right here.
Correct. Yeah.
Everything to the right of my cursor basically is the 100-foot buffer zone off the road. We're not touching any of that.
No, I meant the 300-foot buffer from the wastewater treatment plant. So you're not including that at all in your conceptual ideas for public works.
I'm just working on the public works now. If I bring in the 300-foot area for the wastewater treatment plant, it's going to come. That comes out to about like this. I just didn't have the exact data on it. So this area here is in the 300-foot zone we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see right here is a piece of building. We don't
Yeah.
even need that piece of building. And this is what I forget what this is called. This is a resident. They call it it's like temporary housing. This is not useful for reuse. This is all going to get taken down.
Yeah.
This area
was
is
our-
going to be a disturbed area. It would be a good space for the maybe for the salt shed if we want to put it over here, get it a little bit out of the way from the wetlands more. This is a good area for parking. This is a good area for mixed use recreation. Except accessory use to residential over here. It's all to be determined, but there is a 300-foot, and I should have showed that on here, but I'm just going to leave that because that sort of covers it right there.
Okay.
And Russ, if say this was the location selected, we'd be able to give the entirety of Kai's Road up for other items, correct? Whether it be
I would assume that's correct,
so.
including 141.
Except there's one little water issue right there, water spot, the original pumping station or something.
Oh, we have a cistern out in the parking lot between
Where's that?
133 and 141 Kai's Road. It's
Okay.
it's a big hole in the ground with a structural roof, and it should be evaluated. It's been talked about getting evaluated. We routinely drive heavy traffic over it every day, fire trucks, CPW trucks. But yeah, that's an issue would be the next ownership. And I don't think it's
not something that Public Works would need to use. I thought there was
No.
a
No.
wellhead or something there that Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know. I don't know if it still functions because I'm not the wastewater guy.
Got
But
it.
if there is some kind of use to that, it'd be an easy engineering solution with a piping solution or something to connect 2 points, and then you backfill it. But that'd be for engineering to figure out. It shouldn't be a hurdle or a detriment to development.
Okay.
All right. Let's, I think we need to get back to the sheet.
Yep.
I get off of here.
Okay.
I don't know. How do I unshare?
Oh, it's usually at the top, like a little green thing.
Oh, there it is. I'm going to stop share. It's red.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
red?
Okay, you own it now, Linda.
All right. Can you see my screen again?
Not
See-
yet.
Yep. You see Zoom, that's it. Oh, no, I don't see anything right now.
Oh, you,
I see the Zoom. That's about it. Like, or looks like either
Oh.
Chrome or something.
got it. Let me see. Hmm. I thought I was getting good at this, but I'm not. I see. There we go. Sure. Got it now?
Yep.
Okay. So then there's Bedford Street, the wastewater treatment plant we just all visited. And in terms of acreage and configuration, they're just a large number. Well, this is probably not accurate, but there's a lot of land there, and if we're really only talking about 8 acres, it would seem to me that see if I can also, I'm going to unshare this and see if I can share. Oops.
Ty. Get off that. I'll put your pillow down. Hold on.
Share my,
Here you go.
let's see, is this working?
Here,
Can you see the map now?
here's your pillow.
Yes.
Okay, so then we want to go up, oh, to Bedford Street. And this was the wastewater treatment.
No, 509 is wastewater treatment.
All right, 509, yes, yeah.
40W and 40R are the two agricultural fields, just to align yourselves.
Right, but then there's also like this area 50X Bedford, which is 7 acres.
From my understanding is that's the future expansion, and I don't know if that's in play.
Future expansion for the
The
wastewater.
the beds, yeah. 50X is where the
Oh.
beds are.
Okay. And
So
then
that would be that's a future expansion for the wastewater treatment plant based on permit. Then 40S is where the cell tower is. That little building is the cell tower building.
right,
40E is a surplus workspace for public works. You saw the guys working over there in storage
mm-hmm,
and the heavy equipment. And then 40R and 40W are the two Courtney Como land spaces that are currently in agricultural use, but they're town-owned properties.
Right. So presumably
Yeah, that's
either,
that's 20 acres between the two of them.
yeah, so there's adequate space here in, in terms of um, our criteria.
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's see if I can stop sharing and then reshare the other screen. And so then we'd say with 40W and 40R potential. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then see if we can find Ripley School. And it's 120. And let me stop sharing this and then share. Do you see the Ripley School building?
Yep.
Okay. So that has 17 plus acres. So it would seem to me that that would be adequate. I know there are a lot of fields. But between the, the building and then you'd have to do new construction. But that's a different issue. But it would seem to me that Ripley would also have adequate space. And, there's a building. So if Ripley is emptied by, but I think we all felt that building is at the end of its life. Something will happen there. I don't know if it will be public works or not.
Well,
Any thoughts?
I think, space wise, it's sufficient. Worrying about what what the building can handle, I think is going to be a separate criteria, right?
Right.
And part of this is we need to look at, are there locations that are just not going to work? I mean,
Mhm.
at all. And I think, and we don't need, that way we can actually start whittling these down sooner than later, instead of
Right.
going through all the criteria for every building or every location, you
Okay.
know?
Okay. I am just going to quick look and see if anyone else has any thoughts.
The only one this has is it's landlocked with one entrance point, unless we can get another entrance somehow. Dalton Road would be out, but maybe Ridgeway we could get into if it would be allowed.
I think that's one of those things we'll have to put as a consideration, because one of the other criteria is the impact on residents too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say we know we have enough space, and we should just move on to the next location.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay. Then the Virginia Road area.
So I know Nick suggested this, but I've been looking at these. I don't even think it's worth entertaining looking at it. And I'm just gonna, for multiple reasons. One, there's tons of buildings that are already there. Um, there's businesses that are there. And I don't think it's even worth looking at. Again, everyone else can state their opinion, but I just don't think I did a little Google search on all the businesses that are there. And
Mm.
maybe it's not at full capacity, but just trying to reconfigure that, I think it's going to be a lot of work unless the property is available for, a nominal cost.
Right. No, I agree with you, and I also agree that given that it's at the um, way at far side of town, it doesn't I don't think it holds up for that reason as well, in terms of, trying to transport. Even, Virginia Road can be a nightmare anyway, but to transfer everything to Virginia Road all through the rest of Concord, I think would be challenging as well. Anyone else want to weigh in?
I appreciate Rob's comment. I think taking things off is even more valuable than putting things on for consideration. So that's useful.
Okay. Okay. And 2229 Main Street.
I mean, I think with the criteria, it's got the space, right? It's not our decision to do it, but there is space.
Mm-hmm. Definitely space. Okay. And then Walden Street. There's 35 acres, but we also have a solar array, and some of the land is capped under that. So I don't know enough to know if that is viable or not. Maybe Russ, you have some ideas, given that it is this site of Public Works already.
Yeah, the operations over there are pretty constrained in the space they have because of the capping of the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, but I think there was some indication that CMLP or whoever has that solar field may be expanding. And then there's the reality of the ongoing yearly or more often inspections of the site. People have to get in and check it out. And if something if they have to uncap and redo something, there's all kind of issues with capped landfills. That's why they inspect them every year. And with also the cell tower going in there sooner than later,
Mm-hmm.
that will take away some of the viability of the site. And then when you add it to the adjacency to Walden Woods and all, you'd have some strong opposition.
Definitely.
I think those are really useful comments, and I agree with all of them. I would love to learn more about capping and if you could build upon it, but I think the problems of that would outweigh the benefits. I think the fact is that it does have the space, the 13 acres, if my understanding, but I think the pushback on that would be not beneficial for anyone. So A, it has a space. B, I'm not sure we'd think that as a just general community, that'd be the best spot for this purpose.
And I mean, and the last thing to consider also for that site, beyond all of everyone's valid points, the construction cost would be higher because with that landfill, the fill, degrades, so it starts, sinking. So we would have to drive piles in to
Geez.
build anything, pretty much, I would think. So there would be a big cost associated with that. And then having driving those piles and then recapping the cap again around those piles in order to build, structures on them.
I was just thinking.
Or that, could we say there is space, but it does not seem to be ideal for a number of reasons?
Yeah, I would say the same thing like with Virginia Road. We just the space, but just factors that are there. And then if the select board decides to ask the question, we can, expand on it later on and say,
Mhm.
hey, we'll have the notes for it and then go from there.
Right. I mean, I had thought, given that there's existing public works facilities, it's right on Route 2. It's a pretty central location in town. It's worth consideration, but I can see that the building costs and the uncertainty of the cap. I just thought with the cap, you possibly,
The topography of the site doesn't lend itself to public work use as well.
okay.
It's all uphill once you go in, and
Mhm.
it would be difficult to get structures in there, especially when you're dealing with a capped structure. And and driving piles through it to support buildings would have to be done, but then that would also pierce the lining of the
Right.
of the construction, and it's just a nightmare, and it cost escalation. And I think it's not worth the effort to look at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Okay.
little outside of our scope, but just beside that, there was an old like RV park. Who owns that? Is that our town?
Is that this 801?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, what? And again, not
BBC.
for use, but I'm just intrigued. It's been not really utilized or cared for, but I'm just intrigued by who owns that.
The owner is Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
801 Walden Street. Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't think we want to negotiate with them.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
all about negotiating with I think there's some properties that the state owns that we could utilize in better shape. So that does not scare me, but not that part.
Okay. Not that particular one. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we're making great progress. So we're going to leave behind acreage and now go on to costs. And here, I think Sven gave us some good ideas to sort of have some big brackets. I'm going to say maybe we should just have like dollar signs, like, from 1 to 4 or something like that. What do you got? I mean, how do you think we could?
I mean, I
Because
would say I go 1 to 5,
1 to 5.
and then have each dollar sign represent a $10 million, range, 0 to, $1 sign 0 to 10, and then kind of go from there. I mean, I can't see anything going to the $100 million range, but I could be wrong.
Okay, well, let's try 1 to 5 and see where we come out with. Okay, so and here we have all of these cost of essentially acquisition.
Linda, sorry,
Yeah.
you're still sharing the
Oh,
the
sorry.
map. It's okay.
Thank you for reminding me. Okay, stop, share that one, and then share this. Okay, so we're back on this. So we have these 3: cost of acquisitions, opportunity costs, and maintenance costs. So let's start with MCI Concord. Cost of acquisition. Do you have any idea, Russ, of is there going to be a cost of acquisition or not?
We have no clue.
No clue. But it would seem to me, given that, well, we have no clue.
I mean, we can make the assumption, you know, our assumption's based that there will be a buffer zone around the wastewater plant, and that the cost to acquire the land should be lower based off of that. And if we're, you know, again, we're not going to have the right answers here. It's just at least we'll have what our thought process is on how we evaluated it versus, you know, well, it could be $10 million or it could be $40 million. We don't know, but at least we'll say it should be lower because of these factors. And, you know, then the select board will, you know, evaluate these and then make the decision to spend the money to further evaluate if it's worth building this here or somewhere else. At least that's what I think.
It seems to me that that sort of northeast portion,
Sorry, Sven
By-
has Sven
Oh,
has his
Sven. Yeah, please go ahead, Sven.
Yeah, I think cost-wise, there are two things. One is the land we would acquire anyway for the wastewater treatment facility. So that is kind of anyway cost. So what is the marginal cost? We don't know, but I think it's what's important to understand some estimated what it costs to when you want to use these buildings. So you have in that cost of acquisition, site prep, utilities, renovation, or new construction. So I would look at Russ to say, okay, if you want to use these buildings, what do you think need to be put in there? I guess is we don't know because we don't know what the remediation potentially is on on what's into the ground. But perhaps some reasonable assumption to say without knowing what's in the ground, assuming what this could be.
And I just have one other suggestion. I think tying up cost of acquisition with land and then also kind of bucketing it together with the facilities might muddy the water a little bit. I almost think it's, you know, if we could have two, one is land acquisition and then the cost of construction being two buckets because, you know, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else thinks that's worth it or not, but I think it's two separate entities because with the land we can explain, hey, yes, there may be an acquisition cost, but we're not spending as much on the buildings and vice versa.
One of the benefits of those three buildings is that they were all used what we want to use them for. So there's some basic infrastructure in there that we don't have to replicate. I know, and I've said it before in meetings, I know the vehicle building is going to need new power transformers and things like that because they had a flood and they got ruined. It's a small percentage of cost and
Hey,
but
Russ,
generally,
sorry.
yeah, generally speaking, we can quickly come up with a plan and execute it if it's what we decide to do.
Sorry. I'll ask my question after.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is you have that wall and not too many other options here have a 40-foot wall with wire on top of it. So the site prep could be interesting. Yeah. But you do have, assuming that the buildings are in usable condition, and I think that if you look at the agency report on MCI Concord, those three buildings were considered viable for reuse. And so I think that that's more information than, except for Russ, any of us have, you know. So, and it's a confirmation that those buildings, you know, they didn't, they viewed some other buildings as not usable, you know, not viable for reuse. But the question is, to me, what happens with the wall and who's responsible for that, and other costs on the property. But yeah, so I don't know.
Hey Russ,
But
how many square feet are those buildings? How much square
I don't
footage
have
are
that number. I don't have that number on the top of my head. I reached out to Inkstone for that, and hopefully I get it back. Or,
are we thinking like just up 50,000 square feet? Would that be kind of a, you know, fair number? Or
yeah, that's a good number to toss out. You know, I don't have the real number in front of me, but
I mean,
the study from 2020 said we need 83,000 square feet. I think we have all of that and more.
so I
But I
mean,
don't.
if we go to 80,000 square feet just for the hell of it, and then we guess that, you know, warehouse costs are about, you know, depending on how well they heat it, are probably around $100 a square foot ish. We could just throw, you know, a number like that at it. I mean, just a guess.
Yeah. So the vehicle building is about 42,000 square feet. The industry building, hang on, I'll get that for you. These are just general numbers. It's about 30,000 square feet. And the admin building would be about 13,000 square feet. So right now, 135 Kai's is about 8,000 square feet, which is all of water, sewer, and admin. You know, so there's more than enough square footage over there to contain us.
okay, so
Sorry about that. If you heard the dog.
okay. So anybody, I mean, so in that regard, if you're saying, are you saying 8 million? So is that $1 sign? And then maybe another,
I probably think it'd probably be two, because we also would have, you know, any utilities that have to be relocated, road work that has to get done, automated, you know, automation, warehousing and things like that, like more industrial will be probably more like $200 a square foot. So if we carried 20 million just as a swag, you know, for now, I think would be, you know, a fair, you know, number. It's again, we're taking a guess in a vacuum right now.
right, but that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah.
I
I would
think
think-
putting in numerical numbers is interesting. I can't weigh in at this at all. But one, we could also do what would be, of these 5 or 6, what would be the most expensive and least expensive. I guess those numbers will identify themselves. But
Yeah, no, I mean, we could say ranking, you know, just rank them,
Mhm.
that, you know, as opposed to try and have any brackets around the numbers. I mean,
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're hitting all the hard costs, but there's also going to be all the soft costs that, you know,
Right.
we will be paying for down the road of, you know, where it is, how long it's going to take to go to places, you know, I mean, that's where 509 is going to kind of have some factoring there. We won't have land acquisition is going to be zero, you know, but you know, and building will probably be on par with, you know, or a little higher than MCI, but then now we're going to be, you know, traveling a little further. There'll be some wear and tear on the vehicles. Again, we'll get to those criteria as we go along.
Okay.
Bob, does your number include site cost?
That's what I was thinking with like 20 million to cover, you know, redoing, you know, any potholing, relocating some utilities if needed, roadways. I mean, we can, you know, we can sharpen this again. You know, we're kind of going at the first go, and we can do a
Right.
little bit more research, you know, and kind of come up with a better number. Then, you know, if we think that number's good, great. If we're wrong and we think we need to go back to it, we'll make the changes, right? You know, we need to put something on paper and then kind of at least have something there that we've kind of all talked about, and then we can tweak it a little bit and we can do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do we want to talk about 133 to 135 Kais Road? I mean, it sounds to me like it would be well, we've already talked about how would you even do it at the same time you're trying to run Public Works?
It'd
I
be a
mean,
good act. Yeah.
it's going to be, you know, the costs construction wise are going to be similar to MCI, but then we're going to have to set up temporary facilities throughout town, you know, spreading. If we do one building at a time or whatever it is, we're going to have to, you know, someone's going to have to sit down with a schedule and put together, hey, these operations are going to be out of here for this amount of time. Where are we going to put them? Where can we put them? You know,
Peabody.
we're going to build a big maintenance bay in the gymnasium there.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't think those roads would hold up to our truck traffic very long.
Okay. Okay, and but then, as you say, in terms of the expenses, it would be in the same range as MCI.
I would think so, Russ. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
Well, yeah, but we have full demo costs, so we'd have to add that. Site cleanup because of the USTs and the cistern we have to deal with. Wetland considerations, then the new build will be the exact numbers you're talking about. So, and then plug another 20-30% on top of that for the temporary facilities wherever they would go.
so Linda, wouldn't that go up one cell?
Yeah, I have all of this in costs. I'm
Okay,
obviously going to have to come and redo all of this
okay,
and re-listen to everything you guys said. So, yeah, I'm
no
kind of,
worries.
yeah, we'll try and get there. Okay. So 509 Bedford, land acquisition costs, you know, I mean, we can look at the property values that, you have, you know, are there, other than the existing plant, the assessors don't seem to think there are too many costs over there, 40R and 40W. So we're not having much in the way of concerns there. So land acquisition should be low, but it would be, you know, a new build.
I mean, how big of a facility, Carl, I mean, Russ, sorry, would be over there? You know, similar size, 80,000 square feet, 50,000.
Yeah, come on. We have to keep it even, Steven, so we'll let, we'll use 80 as a base number.
Okay.
Makes the math easy and makes the visualization a little easier.
But-
And 80,000 is preferably on the flat because of garage space. It's hard to get a truck up on a second story.
But so 80,000 times, I don't know, I think Acton was talking about, was it $650 a square foot?
The valid number.
Oof. But I mean, is that with new, all new equipment in there, lifts,
No, that's all new. If that's what you're looking for brand new, a renovation would be 400 to 600, brand new would be 650, 700.
oof.
Things are getting expensive.
So that 5? Okay.
Well, I mean, so that'd be, yeah, it'd be in the range of $40 million. 40 to 50 million.
And that doesn't include soft costs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we really need to take a look at, I'll have to dive in a little bit more on on the retrofit costs, because I mean, we're showing this and, we're talking about a new facility costing 2.5 times the amount of demoing and gutting a facility. It just it doesn't sit right now with me, but I'll have to take a look at it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but that's consistent. We got a few other communities that completely rebuild their public works campus, and it's about 35 to 45 million.
Okay. Thoughts on costs for Ripley?
It would have to be the same as Bedford,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Oops.
The one thing with Bedford is we have wetland intrusion over there. So a lot of the property is not usable.
Um, have to see if there's a 80,000 square foot area that isn't in the wetlands.
Yeah, that's just that 509 Bedford Street is it's wetland, most of it.
But we're looking at that 40W and
All right, yeah, it says 509 here, so I went to 509, but yeah, the other one's not a problem.
oh, okay. Yeah, I just had that whole area, I just called it 509 because it's
Okay, all right, yeah, 509 is Ford
Yeah.
and is a different plot, but yeah, the two other areas with the 20 acres are not in a wetland and
Yeah.
not in a flood zone.
Okay. So Virginia Road, we're going to move by, and then 2229 Main Street, again, would be a new build, right?
Yep.
Correct.
And we'll move on. Then location. sorry. So here is really, I tried to do an analysis of as the crow flies on this location, to say really, how could we find anything that was close to both West Concord and Concord Center, and pretty much the answer was no. So there's not like something that we're looking at that is in the middle, and then you just keep getting further away from MCI, is close to 1. Kais Road is close to the other. 509 Bedford, close, further away on from each location, but skewed toward Concord Center, and then same with Ripley. Sorry, I don't have which is the west and which is not. But
I
in
would
any,
think, if you go back to I mean, I would think the left column is Concord's.
here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. So is essentially the most centrally located are MCI Concord and Kais Road. And then, Bedford Road or Bedford Street and Ripley further away, and similarly 2229 Main Street and Walden Street. And then Virginia Road is the worst of all cases. So going back to criteria, I don't know if that's helpful, but it seems to me that if you want to do rank from 1 to 5, 5 being, 5 being the best or 5 being the worst.
I mean, I would think 5 be the best and 1 be the worst.
Yeah, then probably MCI would be a 5. I mean, and nothing's perfect. But these two are the best locations, and then Bedford Street would be 3.
I would think it'd be a 4.
A
If you go
4.
back to the distance average, and I was just looking at it really quickly, I thought it was 2-mile averages of 2 miles, where the other places start getting to 2.5, 3 miles. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
So it was 2.25 mile.
It's better.
Yep.
It's better. And then these are similar, Ripley and
Yep.
yeah. Okay. 4, and then give these guys 3s.
I'm good with that, Matt. You're good with that? Let's see.
And then 2229. You
I
can't
would
get
probably give,
further away here.
I'd probably put Virginia Road as a 1,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you have
sorry.
Virginia Road,
Yeah.
and I give 229 a 1.
And then
And then
Walden Street. Yeah.
not a 1, sorry, for 229 a 3. I give 229 a 3. It's just about the same as Ripley, give or take.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was. And then honestly, I give Walden a 5 or a 4, because it is in a good spot, but I just don't think we're gonna, given every little constraint that's there, we're gonna be able to
Yeah. That's not
to
going
use
to
it.
outweigh. Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to say it's 4:30. Do we wish to continue, or shall I think we're getting somewhere, but I think an hour and a half is a good length for a meeting. Would anyone like to weigh in on that?
I mean, I'm fine either way. If we need to go, how much more stuff do we, how many more rows we have? Too many?
We
Yeah, I mean,
got a lot of rows.
Linda,
yeah,
your leadership is awesome. I'm starting to lose steam, and I'm trying to work as well at some point. So, and I'm sorry, I would yeah, go ahead.
I'm good too. If we need to take a pause, and then I think it'll give us some opportunity to look at some construction costs too, to kind of supplement things.
Right, and it will give me a chance to um re restate what we've talked about. Um, and I would say if anyone wants to write some things up, that would be great. The other thing I think I sent out was just kind of sort of a Judith had put together sort of a draft outline for our report that's due. And so I kind of filled in some blanks. I can elaborate on that a bit as well.
Would it be beneficial if you sent this out to Matt and myself and we started putting some notes in and then compiling it, or is that just too much, work?
I think that would be great. I think that would be great. Yeah, I'll send this out. And you have a copy with nothing in it right now, but I'll send this out and then yeah.
We just remember we can't work on the same copy. We have to kind of just keep notes separately and then send them in.
Okay.
Right, Sven? Otherwise we're violating meeting law.
Correct.
Yeah. Right, because we're not discussing anything. You're just right. Okay, I guess I'll ask Russ. Can't see if Russ is still
Here.
in there. Yeah, you are. Anything
Yeah.
you would like to update us on because you've been so patient and helpful.
No, thank you. We just wanted to make sure, what our position was over wastewater treatment plant as far as the sand beds to be off limits for future expansion. And then the other 20 acres, best use for the town, it is town land, whatever we deem goes there, goes there. And just go through the process and find the best spot for the site. I think you're doing a great job putting this all together and starting to get your heads around it a little bit. We've shrunk down what our actual needs are based on the 2020 study, so I hope that helps moving forward as you're looking at spaces. And we're here to help.
Thank you. And speaking of helping, so we have a potential opportunity to be on a tour with Public Works on Friday morning. So if anyone else can make that, I'm going to plan to do that myself. Okay. And then when should we schedule our next meeting?
Hold on, I'm just looking at the calendar or when's our first full group meeting. Do we think we can squeeze something in before the 9th?
How about the 7th?
I'm going to be out of pocket then. I'm going to be in a different country.
Okay.
I'm
I
sorry.
know Rob likes to do later in the day and later in the week. So
I mean, the 7th would work for me. I mean, I just think, Matt, if you contribute some of your notes to this,
Great.
and then we hold a meeting on the 7th, just because I like to get more meat on this before we meet with the full group on the 9th.
Agree. That's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes.
okay. Then 3 o'clock, January 7th.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone, have a great holidays and Happy New Year.